Imagine a plane in which points have taken up all the possible locations. But the thing is that they are all invisible except these points. Previously we had only points, but right now we are seeing something new. This is the first shape we are witnessing, a straight line. As we can see, the straight line is just a set of points all lined up in a specific fashion. The question is, why do these points lined up in a specific way? Or we can alternatively ask, why only this set of points got visible? The key to understanding the straight line is this equation. This is the general form of the straight line, which means every possible linear equation having two unknown variables always represents a straight line. And this equation is the general form of all such linear equations. This video is about exploring this general equation, and we will try our best to understand the phenomenon that is the straight line. Looking at this equation, there are only two things familiar to us, that is the x and y. We know they both represent a point, so the P point. This point is not at a specific location, and hence it represents all the invisible points. To understand the general form of the straight line, let's take an example by replacing the constants a, b and c with some integers. Let's see whether this equation really represents a straight line or not. The rule is simple. If a point satisfies the given equation, the point becomes visible. We will start with a random point like 2, 0. Does it satisfy the equation? No, and hence it is invisible. If the point is -2, 0, which satisfies the given equation, and hence it is visible. But if we keep going on and on like this will take us forever. And hence this is why we are going to use the idea of a function. The function allows us to understand the behavior of points based on the x value. To represent the given equation as a function, we need to isolate the y variable in terms of the x variable. And now we can just plug in any x value. For example, to find the y-intercept, the x becomes 0 and we get 0, 3 point. Whichever x value we plug in this function, we would get the visible points. After plugging in lots of x values, we finally get this set of visible points. The question is, why only this specific set of points got visible? And why not the other points? If we reflect back on the process which made these points visible, only those points become visible which satisfies the equation. The straight line, which is a specific set of points satisfying a specific equation, is called as locus of the given equation. Locus is just a set of points satisfying a specific condition. Here the condition is the given equation. Using the function, we got the straight line. But what about the invisible points? I mean, what does this equation tell us about the invisible points? Let's consider some invisible points, like the 2, 0, for which the equation responds 12 = 0. If the point is 3, 1, then the equation responds 13 = 0. Now let's pick other invisible points on the other side of the line to see whether there is any change in the response. If the point is -2, 1, then the equation responds -2 = 0. If it is -3, 1, then the response is -5 = 0. Yet definitely picking something here, aren't we? The given equation tells something about the invisible points. Imagine the line is not formed yet. In case we pick these invisible points, the given equation tells us that the chosen points are invisible, and also that where the line exists. Isn't this incredible? Like how the general form of the straight line tells us which points are visible and which are invisible, and also tells which invisible points fall on which side of the line. But even after knowing these things, we still don't know what do the constants a, b and c does to the x, y point. How do we really understand this? Is there any way? Do you remember how we transformed the general form into the y as a function of x? If the ax plus by plus c equals 0 is the general form, then the y as a function of x is just another form of the same line. Different forms of the same line might give us different info about the same line. So now let's put our focus upon the y as a function of x. This equation tells us how the height of a point on the line changes based on the x value. Let the x value be 0. This reveals that the -c/b is actually the y-intercept. But if the point px, y has some positive x value, then what is its height? We can see the distance fe is minus c over b. So let's think of the distance pf. Here the df is x, and if we set the angle pdf as alpha, then we can easily get the pf distance. That is, pf equals x tan alpha. Here the tan alpha is just the steepness or the slope of the line, which is constant for all the points on the line. And hence the y equals x tan alpha plus minus c over b. Let the m be the tan alpha, okay? And the minus c over b as small c. And thus the equation becomes y equals mx plus c. If we compare the mx plus c with the top right equation, the minus a over b determines the slope of the line, while the minus c over b is the y-intercept. We now know that the a and b is all about the slope of the line. But what about the constant c? Before doing anything else, plot the x and y intercepts. Let's start from what we know, that is the a and b. If we treat them as a point, and if you flip it, or should I say create the mirror image of the a, b point, then the line connecting these 2 points is actually the perpendicular to the main line. Remove the mirror point because it was only to demonstrate that the a, b point lies in perpendicular to the main line. The a, b point, as we know, determines the steepness or slope of the line, and you can also say it determines the rotation of the line. And so the only one type of motion left for the line is to slide towards the a, b point or slide away from the a, b point, such that the line must always be perpendicular to the a, b point. This is why I think the constant c has something to do with the distance from the origin to the main line. Let's say the OF equals p and gx, y be the point on the line. The goal is to define the OF distance in terms of the gx, y point. We can pull a perpendicular from the OF distance, starting from the I to meet at H, such that a right triangle OIH forms. Also let the angle IOH be the alpha. As the angle is measured clockwise, it is negative alpha. The IO becomes x cos negative alpha, which is the same as x cos alpha. To define Fi, we can pull a perpendicular from the G point to meet at J point on the IH distance, such that the Gj equals Fi. To find the angle GHJ, we know that the angle GHO is 90 degree, and thus the angle GHJ is 90 degree minus GHO. In the triangle HIO, the angle GHO is 90 degree plus alpha, and that is why the angle GHJ is negative alpha. Now the GJ equals y sine negative alpha, which is the same as negative y sine alpha, and hence the p equals x cos alpha minus y sine alpha, which is the expression of the FO distance in terms of the gx, y point. But we still need the connection between the distance p and the constant c. Take a moment and just observe to find how we can do this. We can see the intercepts having the constant c, and the ED line seems like the base of the triangle DOE, and the distance OF as the height. That is, the area of triangle DOE is equals half under root minus c over a whole square plus minus c over b whole square times p, which simplifies to c times under root a square plus b square times p all over 2 times ab. But the area of triangle DOE is also half minus c over a times minus c over b, which simplifies to c square over 2ab. If we try to express the c in terms of p, then c equals p times under root a square plus b square. This is exactly what we wanted. We already knew the a and b is about slope. But now we also come to know that the constant c is actually the distance p scaled up by the factor under root a square plus b square.